Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. For today's video, I'm going to be doing a top 11 certain kind of films. And you all know we have that best movies of all time list we have as us film buffs. Well, it's not this kind of list. No. Today's list is going to be for what I like to call my top 11 most hated movies of all time, or as a better called, the top 11 worst movies of all time. And these are going to be movies that have made me question my status as a film lover, a film critic, or just films that don't deserve to exist, period, because they're just so atrocious. So with that being said, let's get started on with the top 11 worst movies of all time, starting off at number 11. Kicking off at number 11 is going to be 2002's The Masters of Disguise. A truly horrible movie. I don't care if it's meant for kids. Even 8-year-old boys should be able to watch this and say, that was the worst movie I've ever seen. It's senseless, plotless, and just generally stupid. Who the world thinks Dan and Carvey saying, Turtle, am I not turtle enough for the Turtle Club? It's just... It's even funny, or having Brent Spiner's character running gag involve a fart joke! The result is a disjointed storyline that even the pre-pub secret target audience must have found confusing, if not downright annoying. Considering that this film was obviously meant for a much younger viewer than the previous would have believed, I was shocked where at one point in the story, Pistachio was taught that it is wrong to strike someone with a closed fist, but perfectly acceptable to slap them with an open palm. A technique used heavily throughout the film, unless they're like basically under the age of 6 or just a dire Dan and Carvey fan who can't miss a single one of his performances. I would definitely recommend you steer clear of this dog. Kicking off at number 10 is going to be a USA dub of a 2005 animated feature from the UK, and that is of course none other than Dougal, aka The Magic Roundabout, 2005, the USA shitty version. So basically The Magic Roundabout's this stop-motion children's series, and this was basically an animated film from the UK based off that series, but however, the Americans touched the film, shot their asses on it. Basically, so yeah, talk about a film from the UK that America took their hands on and fucking ruined to every bloody pieces imaginable. As this version is basically relying on a selfish, candy-loving dog named Dougal, let me make this simple. This film should be avoided. Go find the original version of this film called The Magic Roundabout that has better actors doing voices. Like, they've changed it all around here so that's a bunch of actors pretending to act for a paycheck. It's that awful. Really, it is. The difference is like night and day. This is just a good little film ruined by attempts to make it acceptable for American audiences. On top of that, the script was even reworded so that it was hip and happening, and now, not only did Dougal take a while to get going, and never got over how predictable and contrived it all was, but actually felt bored at the halfway mark of this. Also, the film even teaches some very negative lessons, so all in all, like, I would try to do whatever you can to find the UK dub of this, because it's actually clearly better than this. Kicking off at number 9 is going to be 2010's The Last Airbender. God, do I hate anime and its awful live-action film adaptations, especially if they're directed by one of the worst hacks in Hollywood himself, M. Night Shyamalan. What's worse is this movie came out during one of the most phenomenal years for movies. I remember watching this movie back when it first came out, and I didn't even like it, especially for someone who never even saw the cartoon series. This movie was just simply awful. Like, at first I thought I was watching some genre parody of epic movies. I soon realized that this movie should be included in a study of what not to do in filmmaking. From start to finish, the story dialogue was so cliched and unbelievable, the acting was simply terrible, I laughed throughout most of the film. It felt like this had to be written by some 19-year-old who grew up sitting in front of the VCR without literature or education. Even the music was amateurish. Like, was I ever so shocked that the ending credits to see was written by M. Night Shyamalan? And keep in mind, guys, this was the first movie I saw from M. Night Shyamalan. And the music composed by James Newton Howard and the movie even produced by Kennedy and Marshall. Last Airbender is just one of those films that just simply never exist, period, and it's probably why M. Night Shyamalan's a laughing stock in the film industry. Kicking off at number 8 is going to be for a sword and horror remake that is known for one scene and one scene alone, and I think you can guess what that certain scene is.
Oh, no, not the beast! Not the beast! Ah! Oh, my eyes! My eyes! Ah! Ah!
Yep, The Wicker Man, starring Nicolas Cage. This was known as the infamous horror remake that destroyed the career of Nicolas Cage. The 1973 film was one of those unique cult horror films, but does not even go for this movie in the slightest. How does this film work? Well, here's several examples. Have Nicolas Cage run around an island, punch loads of women in the face, knock them out unconscious, rip off kids' masks, yell at a woman over a burnt doll, walk in a bear suit, steal a bike from a woman, then walk in a bear suit, run up to a woman, punch her in the face, and free a child, but it all means nothing, and then scream about bees while his head's in a helmet full of them. Yeah, that's all this entire movie is. But thankfully there is a catch. You can watch this as an unintentional comedy, and then decently enjoy it. While we thankfully did have the unbearable weight of massive talent this year that redeemed Nick Cage's career and was a good throwback to all his other movies, this film definitely did not do that trick, and it's why I really hate horror remakes. Kicking off at number 7 is going to be for a Dr. Seuss film adaptation, and yep, I think you all know what it is. It's 2003's The Cat in the Hat. Man, Dr. Seuss was one of those creative authors that touched the hearts of many kids and adults with his creative books and rhyming and colorful designs and pictures. Sadly, it's even spawned some film adaptations that most of the time just never work. But the one that is the most horrendous of all is 2003's The Cat in the Hat. This is what you call a horrifying nightmare for so many people. Mike Myers is horrifyingly designed, as are the fish in the Thing 1 and Thing 2. Alec Baldwin basically exists in this movie just to gross out people and just be a boring, slobby villain. The kids are complete brats, the cinematography is worse, and you don't want to know what's worse? The jokes are so inappropriate and R-rated for a film aimed at children. Like, you've got penis innuendos, even some swearing, and a garden hoe entendre. The Cat in the Hat may be one of Seuss's most beloved books by all, but this may be one of Seuss's film adaptations most hated by all. Kicking off at number 6 is going to be for a Marvel film, and that is definitely 2015's Fan for Stick, or as I should call it, Fan for Shit. Marvel had some great movies, but also some atrocities, and this might not have to be their biggest atrocity yet in all cinema. The Tim Story movies may not be masterpieces, but they got the characters right and portrayed them very well, and I even have fun with those films. This is not even a Fantastic Four movie in any way, shape, or form. A big problem for me to lay with the tone of the film. Firstly, it takes itself way too seriously, and as a result, it made the film quite boring to watch. When watching this, it felt like I was watching a science documentary with all its wordy geek exposition, rather than what should be a fun comic book type movie. This brings me on my next point. What fun in the 2005 film, and the 2007 film as well, there was much more in the way of camaraderie between the cast and making the film so much more fun to watch. As the villain Dr. Doom, Victor Von Doom isn't particularly well developed here, and I felt his motivations for world domination were a little sketchy here. I criticized Von Doom's motivation in the original film somewhat, but compared to his motivations here, they're basically more plausible in retrospect. The ending is also poor and lacks any kind of intensity and tension, and has a Fantastic Four doing the obvious to wrap the film up. All in all, it's a very disappointing film, but the series tones perhaps a bigger enemy to the film than Doctor Doom. It's big and bloated, but it's also boring and lacking in both fun and imagination. Kicking off at number 5 is going to be for an animated film, and no, it's not Food Fight or Norm of the North, but those are pretty much bad that I didn't even bother checking them out. This is actually going to be 2017's The Emoji Movie. Man, I will say that 2017 was one of the worst years for movies ever. Almost every blockbuster sucked, the original films weren't even memorable, and life just went downhill from there. To make it worse, it was the birth of this cancer to animation. This is a sort of product because this is not truly a movie, as the word movie is too suggestive of art that corporations fawn over. And they did, believe it or not. 3 major production studios fought to make this happen. Of course, they wouldn't spend too much, like Minions, a product almost as artless as this one, cost $74 million and runs for 91 minutes. In comparison, the Emoji Movie cost $50 million and runs for 86 minutes. A 91-minute long Emoji Movie would cost a mere $52.91 million. Sony cares less than the company that bought a screaming yellow fever. They threw as little as they could at it. And of course the product placement is just the worst. There's literally a 10-minute sequence in a Candy Crush where they play an actual game of Candy Crush. That said, the one sort of good moment in the movie was the Instagram part. The characters could walk into the photo itself and everything is frozen in place, which is kind of nice, but it's done better in plenty of other movies, like Looney Tunes Back in Action did that with actual works of art, with the style of animation mirroring the style of art, which is way more creative. So yeah, this movie is by far my worst theater experience to date ever, and my most hated animated movie of all time. Kicking off at number 4 is going to be 2013's Movie 43. Ugh. How in the hell was this film or thing even made? I can't believe how bad this movie was. It's amazing to me that they got such high quality actors to take part in this piece of garbage. I can usually find some redeeming quality in most movies no matter how bad they are, but this is just a pile of crap. Like, there wasn't one good thing about this. How on earth did this movie get made? Like, I'm just shocked at how bad it was. Like, many examples of how bad this movie is. Here's one segment. Have Hugh Jackman wear a pair of balls on his neck and try to kiss the grossed out and even humiliate Kate Winslet. Have Elizabeth Banks get beat up and peed on by a cartoon cat and even murdered by a birthday party of children at the end. And a segment that was made by James Gunn of all people. And etc. More directors I can never name. One of the very few movies that is just so bad, it's unwatchable. I couldn't even finish it. Despite this film having 1,000,000 stars in it, I have to wonder who they even pissed off in order to get them blackmailed such big paychecks to work on this horrifying mess of a film. Every scene was redundant and unfunny, and jokes were made clearly in the sketches, and then drawn out until they were painfully unfunny. The way they roped so many A-list actors into this utter tragedy is downright appalling. They try to be offensive from start to finish, and believe it or not, being offensive does not equate to being funny. Kicking off at number 3 is going to be for another superhero film, and that superhero film is going to be from DC this time, and that is, of course, Batman Robin. Batman, the greatest hero in DC and in cinema, whose Tim Burton film launched the superhero genre as we know it. What almost killed the superhero genre was his 4th movie from 1997, this. Now, the previous film, Batman Forever, is a shame of a movie, but nothing compared to what this piece of garbage is. Since it's from the same series, there is no excuse for the director to run wild and away from the spirit of the originals, in which a sad soul has to fight crime in order to maintain sanity. In Schumacher's movies, Batman has to have the coolest cars, kiss the most beautiful girls, and have a lot of fun while doing so. The first 2 movies acknowledged that killing or hurting people was a coincident choice, which was painfully taken by Batman. In the last 2, it's as if violence is fun and part of Batman's life. We have Arnold Schwarzenegger playing an embarrassing version of Mr. Freeze who just says ice puns. This film even includes butt shots and bat nipples on his suit as if they were a golden part of the costumes. And they even have a Bat credit card. Do I have to bring that up? And it ruins the inclusion of Batgirl, makes Robin a big brat throughout every scene. This may be a so bad it's good movie, but man, that does not excuse it from still being terrible. Kicking off at number 2 is going to be for a Seltzer Freeberg movie, and of all the bad stuff they've done, I decided to make number 2 be 2007's epic movie. I absolutely hate Seltzer and Freeberg and their terrible scary movie knockoffs that are not funny and just horrendously disgusting to get through. Films like Date Movie, Meet the Spartans, Vampires Suck, and Disaster Movie may be awful, but they don't compare to something like this. Who in the right mind wants to see Cal Penn eat feces out of a river disguised as a chocolate river, Beaver and Tumnus have this weird creepy bestiality relationship, have the White Witch literally be called the White Bitch, and have a cameo of Borat smacking his bare ass to end the movie? Even worse, these films have the parody character sing a stupid rap song for several minutes straight in the end credits. Well, thankfully these 2 careers are finally dead and we will hopefully never have to see another film from them again. You'll always remember the days they ruined films and parodies. Even the trailers for Epic Movie were funnier and better than this crap movie any day. And with that being said, the number one worst movie of all time to me is most definitely
Daddy, would you like some sausage? Daddy, would you like some sausages? Daddy, would you like some sausage?
Freddy Got Fingered. Yes, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. My number one most hated movie of all time. How in the world is this considered a comedy film in any way, shape, or form? This film is just horrifying to watch. I was nearly close to throwing up as soon as I saw Tom Brady's one movie in his whole entire career. This is hands down the worst movie of all time. Tom Green in this movie is a complete idiot. Not one thing he says or does in this movie is at all funny or likable. What he does is he sexually abuses animals, cuts open a deer carcass and wears it stupidly, destroys property, causes hell for his father and brother, and pretends to be a doctor in the grossest scene of cinema. There's even a running gag involving a child getting constantly hurt brutally and being even killed at the end as if it's funny to watch him cry in pain and bleed. Nobody's even likable in this film, not even the mature characters. And what's worse is Tom Green's character doesn't even get a single bit of comeuppance for what he does and is practically rewarded for his horrendous crimes at the very end of the movie by successfully getting his dream of being an animator. Freddy Got Fingered is a film that should never be watched by anybody and should stay avoided by everyone for life. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. We finally made it through the top 11 worst movies of all time. Someday I may do a top 11 best movies of all time, but that may be a little bit hard to do eventually, but yeah, until then, guys, we made it through the top 11 worst. Hopefully these abominations can never be spoken of again, and hopefully someday be burned in the garbage where they belong. And until then, guys, that'll be it for this video. Thank y'all for watching, and if you like this, want to see more, and don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.